Chapter 4 Chorus of Burdens. The common area of Cull-19 had a foreign feeling to it. Its inhabitants had rarely, if ever, seen it in the midday light. The birds were chirping, the insects were buzzing, and for the first time, these creatures were about to be drowned out by the uneasy conversation of the Cull's prime residents. "You need to start from what in Grom's love happened with Hela in the Understreet," Farah demanded. "Come, everybody bring your meal bags to the gathering table," Goden responded in a surprisingly calm voice given Farah's accusatory tone. "I have a lot to tell you, but we need to act normal and speak at a modest volume." "What's up, Hela?" Senna whispered close to his sister's ear. "What did Farah mean?" "I wouldn't even know how to explain it to you, Finn, but I think Goden does, so let's listen to what he has to say." They all sat around the circular gathering table in the center of the common, set out their meals, and hunched over them. All of them were fixated on Goden, who seemed to be taking twice as long to set his food and utensils out as the others. Then he released a heavy sigh. "It was foolish of me to think I could suppress our nature the way our Rayan captors think they can. I should have known better." Goden finally raised his gaze to meet those of his cullmates. "The Rayans and their asperite. No one has to wonder about their power. It's self-evident. Painfully so. But us Theutons, we aren't so obvious, nor are we so helpless in comparison." "I knew it!" Hela screamed in her head. "Drom told me about our people's strength. Was it all real?" She felt a mix of giddy excitement and vindication bubble up inside her. She almost blurted out her thoughts, but Goden continued before she could. "Our power is hidden deep inside each of us. Its dormant nature is contrary to its enormous strength. When brought to bear, a single Theuton can become the equal of 10 Rayans! Hela couldn't contain herself anymore. "Drom told me that Theutons could defeat 10 Rayans at once, and I always thought, how stupid of them to only use one peaceman for 5 Theutons. Are they insane? Or arrogant? Or—" Goden cut her breathless word salad short. "They aren't insane. Look around you, child. They may be haughty, but nothing about the Rayan Empire exists because of stupidity." Hela clenched her fists and dropped her gaze. "I guess so. There are good reasons why Theutons became and remain the slaves of Rayans. If anyone was arrogant, it was us. We ruled with unquestionable dominance for more than 2,000 years over the feeble Rayan race. But what they lack in the blessing of Grom, they make up for in cunning and ingenuity." He looked around the perimeter of the common area's walls without moving his head, then back at his cullmates. "When I pray to Grom, our blessed mother, each morning, I don't do so ceremonially or out of habit. I believe she is real as you and I, and her unvanquished flame that resides in all of us is the proof of that. Whether you realize it or not, each one of you has an ember of that flame inside. What you witnessed at the filth compactor today was an ignition of that ember within Hela that exploded due to lack of control." "What?" Senna exclaimed, mouth agape. He turned to stare at an uncharacteristically red-faced Hela. "So, wait a second," Farah's lip curled. "Are you telling me Hela is a wielder of the unvanquished flame of Grom? Her?" "No, Farah. I'm telling you we all are," Goden said evenly. "It is every Theuton's birthright, just as our prayers tell us. Hela just discovered it on her own today." He picked up his neatly placed cutlery and began to separate his meal with it. "This is the thing about the unvanquished flame of Grom. Well, there are a few things you should know about it. First, unlike the Rayans, who seem to have a natural ability to cast their power through asperite, it takes a Theuton dedicated focus and effort to call upon the flame. This is most true of those who have never wielded it before. In the olden days, before our captivity, elders took initiates on journeys into the mountains to teach them how to summon the flame. Even children of little Senna's age could start to learn this ability." Goden stopped separating his food, stabbed a piece, and began to chew it. "So, what Hela did down there today is normal for a Theuton?" Farah leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table. "The red eyes? The glowing chest? That whole thing?" "Red eyes?" Senna gasped. I don't remember much about that," Hela said as her mind spun in a dozen different directions. "Well, I do. I'll never forget it. She looked like a monster. It was terrifying." Goden swallowed his bite. "If you've never seen it, yes, it would be a terrifying sight. But in reality, what you witnessed was the very love of Grom. No Theuton should ever fear that. It's my fault for hiding this all from you, which brings me to the second thing you need to know about the unvanquished flame." He paused and poked at another bite with his utensil, taking his time. When he looked up again, he noticed only Talon had opened his meal bag. "When you understand the next part, your earlier question will be answered, Hela. Why do Rayans feel comfortable with very few troops around us?" Hela's breath sped up. "You see, it all comes down to numbers. The entire Thutan civilization fell to simple arithmetic," Goden chuckled to himself. "It's true that it would take 10 Rayans to match the power of a skilled wielder of the unvanquished flame, but what if there were 11? And I'm not being facetious. This is the real state of the world we exist in. There is a balance to all things. It may take 1,000 feathers to weigh a cubel of hard rock, but a cubel of feathers is thusly equal to a cubel of hard rock. Whoever can tip the scales in their favor becomes the dominant force. So it is between Soul's asperite and the unvanquished flame of Grom's love." Hela tilted her head to the side. "But that still doesn't explain why in the world only a single Rayan peaceman collects 5 of us to escort each morning." Goden chewed his food and swallowed before asking, "Who escorts you each morning?" "I don't know their names," she snapped. "I'd recognize their faces, but they send different peacemen in a rotation." "No!" Goden stopped her. "Think about it. The guard is a formality. He's not forcing us to walk in unison." Hela's eyes widened. "It's the floors." "Exactly. The asperite floors," Goden said. "We know asperite doesn't do anything without a Rayan behind it casting their will. So this is the question and the secret to our captivity. Who is behind the asperite floors, and how do the Rayans use them with such power?" He saw realization dawn in Hela, Farah, and Senna's eyes. However, Talon just sat there eating his food. "Somehow," Goden continued, "the city's construction can transmit enormous amounts of Rayan power through its floors and causeways, overpowering every Thutan on them by at least a 10-to-1 margin." Senna spoke up for the first time. "Well, it doesn't have to be 10-to-1. For Thutans who can't wield the unvanquished flame, maybe they only need 1 or 2 Rayans to tip the scales." "That's right," Goden said. "You are a sharp one, aren't you, little Senna?" Senna grinned at the compliment. "Here's the last thing you need to know about Thutans and those who know how to wield the flame. We stoke each other's fires. The more of us who gather together in Grom's love, think of it like small flames coming together until they produce an unstoppable inferno." Farah jumped up, pointing. "You, Goden! Your chest! You are glowing after Hela went nuts! You know how to wield the unvanquished flame!" Goden didn't even have to admit it. His red face said it all. He slumped in his chair, feeling every one of his ears. "Yes, I do." Hela's eyes flashed. "You've not only known our people's secrets about the unvanquished flame all this time, but you haven't used it or even taught us how to use it for ourselves? How could you?" The mood of the table shifted. Goden drew himself up tall. "What I did was for the safety of the cull." "Safety? That's your excuse?" Hela retorted. "Yes, and you know it as well as I do," he reiterated. "What would have happened if your explosion today wasn't underground, away from Rayan eyes? You would have had the full wrath of Epole meted out upon you." "Why did I have to stumble upon it at all, Goden? You've been a wielder of the flame for, what, years? It's not just your power, it's all of our birthright. Those are your words. And here's the part that just kills me. With you as the only wielder, there was never any possibility of us having a chance against the Rayans. It might as well have been you forcing us to be slaves. You who figured a life of slavery was safer than a life of dignity." Goden scowled at her rebuke. He placed his utensils back down. "I bear that burden, that shame. Yes, it's true. It's the most reprehensible thing a Thutan can be, a coward. We're a proud people, so it eats at me daily. But I'd like to at least tell you why I choose shame over dignity." His voice trembled. "I'm a man of some years, older than most Thutans, but not the oldest I've met. I too was once young and full of the embers of Grom's pride. When I was close to Talon's age, I came across an elder Thutan. I was in Call 22 at the time. His name was Hald. His knowledge of the ancestors fascinated me. He passed on many unbroken oral traditions he had collected during his life and from a number of different culls. It was Hald who taught me the secrets of the unvanquished flame." He took a deep breath and filled his lungs as he swept at his eyes. None of you know this, but I had a younger sister, Andrel. After they took our parents from us, we became inseparable. I promised her the same would never happen to us. One day, we were sent away on blessing together, just the two of us. It was nothing really, just some basic plant tending, but somewhere near the inner round. It was beautiful. Goden's eyes glazed over momentarily before he continued. Our assigned peaceman was acting oddly around Andrel, staying close to her, even trying to start conversations while she worked. It was unnerving for me and clearly uncomfortable for her as she tried to ignore his advances. Then, he grabbed her, tight. He started to grope all over her body. She looked at me, not sure if she should scream or fight back. Farah unconsciously began gripping her cutlery as Goden continued. I had told Andrel the tales that Hald told me. She knew as much as I did about the unvanquished flame, though neither of us had ever wielded it. Before I could summon my wits to intervene, she turned and gazed into the eyes of her attacker. That look! It was like nothing I had ever witnessed before. Like Grom herself was gazing into the soul of that pathetic, insignificant Rayan with all the malice and anger of our entire civilization. Farah's lip began curling back, displaying her gritted teeth. One strike. She struck him once in the center of his body, and that man exploded in all directions. Just the shockwave of energy from her hit my body like someone had run into me. At that moment, I had never felt such pride and awe. But it passed, as quickly as moments do. He looked down now, slumping in his chair. I don't know where they came from. Rayan shock troopers seemed to come out of thin air, at least 20 of them. I fell to the ground, under control of the strongest asperite force I had ever felt, like a building was on my back. Andrel, though, she was suspended off the ground, every limb stretched out straight. At that description, both Senna and Hela's eyes welled up with tears. I could do nothing. Nothing. Nothing! I couldn't even look away as they butchered my little sister in front of me. I'd told her I would never let them separate us. I'd meant every word. I would have traded places with her 1,000 times over if I could have. But at that moment, pinned to the ground, all I felt was shame. I had filled her mind with everything needed to wind up suspended off the ground and torn to pieces by those animals. Goden sniffed hard, wiped his eyes on his sleeve, and straightened his clothes. So yes, Hela, I bear an unimaginable amount of shame, something I hope you never have to endure. Those cursed dogs, Hela spat. They are inhuman, heartless dogs. But the worst thing they did was forcing me to keep living after that. I had every intention of killing myself the next day in a suicide attack on the first peaceman I found at Blessing. But when I returned to the call, Hald met me. Somehow he just knew that they had killed my sister and my plans for the next day. I hope one day to be half as wise as that man. He took me aside and started chanting an ancient tone over me. Is that what you did to Hela in the Understreet? Farah asked. The very same. It quells the flames inside of us. I don't know if he sensed I was close to erupting or if it was just meant to soothe. But it calmed me and was the most compassionate thing anyone had ever done for me. Later that evening, before the floors compelled us to bed, he taught me how to draw the unvanquished flame from within. With his help, I managed to wield the flame for the first time, ever so slightly, but it opened the door in a way that I should have done for you, Hela. For that, I'm sorry. But the choice to hide my own flame is the sacrifice I make each day so none of us have to relive Andrel's fate. With that, Goden stopped talking and went back to eating what remained of his meal. That's a lot, Hela murmured. Thank you for at least being honest, Goden. I feel like I can trust you now, and I don't know if I did before. Farah spoke up. Well, I feel like I trust you less. I thought you were already honest with us. Is there anything else you want to confess while we're doing this? No, was all he said. It was now early even, when they would usually return from their daily blessings. Everyone had finished their meals and was winding down before sleep time. Everyone except Senna and Hela, who were both in Hela's room. Sitting on her bed, they discussed Goden's revelations and other matters overshadowed by the day's events. Between them sat the lighting orb that had fallen and smashed the asperite floor by Hela's bed last night. So, The floors. They have to be activated by Rayans somehow, Hella mused. What did a lighting orb do to prevent them from using this part of the floors? I can't figure that out either, Hella. I wish Goden knew as much about Rayans as he does about Theutons. They both sat quietly, contemplating this puzzle for a minute or two. Then Hella's head snapped up. Hey, Finn, you were back before us today and said there was something weird that happened at your enlightenment session? Oh, right, Senna shifted on the bed. It was strange. Nothing like that ever happened at enlightenment before. Well, what was it? Hella prodded. You know how there are peacemen walking up and down the halls outside the enlightenment chambers? Yeah. Well, a bunch of them gathered close to my chamber, just outside the door. I could hear them talking fast, but they were trying to keep their voices down so I couldn't hear what they were saying. Then one of them opened the chamber door and told me to step into the hall. So I did, and I saw the other students in the hall at the same time. I've never seen that before. Neither have I, Hella said. I think we were all wondering what was going on. Then a bunch of peacemen started yelling at each other from the outside. The peaceman next to us got a message on his device and then led us all back to the causeway. The asperite walked us all home in different directions. I got here and just sat in the common until you showed up. I wonder what all that's about, Hella said. Senna shrugged. Don't know. One more mystery to add to today's list, I guess. They both chuckled. Just then a loud noise came from the common area, but unlike the loud noise from the night before, this one was completely recognizable. It was the sound of the large cull gate doors opening. Huh? Senna exclaimed. Why are the doors opening? It's almost time for sleep, Hella added. They both rushed out to the common to see what was happening. Theutons of Cull 19, assemble! Came the cry of the peacemen who had entered the common. All 5 Theutons were compelled to their places for what was usually a morning assembly. Oh no, Hella thought. They know! Somehow they know what happened in the Understreet today. Theuton designate Talon, the peaceman shouted. Talon, looking side to side in confusion, was marched by the asperite to meet the peacemen. Once he did, they both turned to face the gates and marched out of the cull without explanation. But before the gates swung closed, a third figure marched into the cull. Hella couldn't tell who it was, but judging by his black hair and dirty clothes, he was a Theuton. Notes from the Acolyte. There are many reasons why a Theuton may be translocated to a different cull. Common examples include even distribution, internal disunity between slaves, or family units that exceed the 5 Theuton maximum capacity. Theuton slaves often die or are killed when soul's peace is doled out. As births and deaths change the composition of culls, slaves will be expropriated and distributed as the Order of Peace sees fit.